The first thing that I want to do is all the cosines, then my tangents, not tangent, then my sines, and then my tangent. Let's go to our cosines first. So my cosine of 120. So if I have 120 at 90, I'm going to actually kind of go a little bit over and say this is 180. And down here is how many, if y'all remember? 270. So to get to 120, we're really adding by 30s. 30, 60, 90. Would you agree the next one is then 120? Yes? Okay? And so that has to do with 60 degrees right here, correct? Now, because it's cosine, are we looking at the x or the y? Let's write something. Cosine is an x value. Sine is a y value. Do we all remember that? Okay? Let's also write on here, cosine is the adjacent movement. Sine is our opposite movement. And we'll need that for the tangency. So because it's 120 on cosine, I need 1 over 2. But 1 over 2 is going to become what kind of sign? Positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, because we're going to the left. Now let's go to our next cosine. Is that 300? So my 300, let's see what we need to count by. It looks like if I did 120, go to 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, and then where do I go to? What number is this right here then? 300. So if you notice 300 lines up with 60. Would you agree on that? Correct? What I mean by that is, if this is 360, isn't 300 to 360 60 away? So we're really looking at 60 degrees. Give me a nod if that made sense. Okay? Now we're looking at cosine. Is my cosine or the x value in quadrant 4 positive or negative? Positive. Leave it alone. So simply look at that specific angle measurement and ask yourself, am I just looking at the x, just the y, and then maneuver your positive and negative? Good? The next one is our sine. My first sine is part A. We're looking at 225. Now, anything that's got a 5 in it, most likely is in the 45 degrees, correct? So let's start counting then. For 225, if that's 45 and that's 90, this is going to go to what? 135 to 180, and then 225 is going to go right here. Let's all write out 225. That is part of 45 degrees. So then let's kind of think about it. Sine is my x or y? Is my y. So at 45 degrees, my y is radical 2 over 2. And in quadrant, sine is going to be positive or negative. Quadrant 3? Negative, so negative root 2 over 2. And again, you don't have to draw any triangles. Just know which quadrant you're in, okay? Where's my next sine movement? What letter? D?
D.
So on my letter D, we're going to be in which quadrant? Second one. So I'm going to write 135. So let's see which one we're looking at. 45, 90, 135. So we're looking at 45 again, correct? And this time, we're looking at quadrant 2. So it's my sine value, the y value, positive or negative. Positive, just copy that. Radical 2 over 2. Now the tangent needs some work, so whatever margin you have room for, go ahead and show the work there. So let's look at 330. My 330 is going to go right here. And for tangent, I'm going to actually write the order pair. Okay, let's see for 330. Do y'all see 330 is part of 30 basically? They line up, right? So that means at 30, I'm going to write on here we have radical 3 over 2. And because I physically went down, it's going to be negative 1 over 2. If you're good with that order pair, give me a thumbs up. Okay? Now, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So my opposite is my sine value. Adjacent is my y value. So I have negative 1 over 2, all divided by, my adjacent is radical 3 over 2. And then we have to multiply by what?
Radical 3 over 2.
By the reciprocal of the bottom. 2 over radical 3, top and the bottom, that's a 3 by the way. 2 over radical 3. And the whole point of that is to make everything on the bottom to what? Go away. Now I have fraction times a fraction, which is better than fraction over a fraction. Something else also happens. What can I eliminate that is identical on the top and the bottom? 2. So that means you would think my final answer is negative 1 root 3, but we have to, what's the word? rationalize. So when I do, that's going to cost me to have 3 on the bottom, and on the top is negative root 3. You may keep the 1 after the negative if you want to, but you don't have to. So that is the answer for tangent of 330. Okay, if you're good to move on, let's go ahead and give me a thumbs up. We're now at 240. So let's see where 240 is going to go. 240 is going to be pretty close to 270, right? A little bit before it. 240 is right here. So let's see what number this is going to match up to. So watch what I do. Y'all ready? 240 matches with 120. If you agree with that, give me a nod. Okay? And 120 matches with 60, correct? So that means the order pair I can write for 240 is going to be with the 60, both being negative. 2. Is everyone good with that? Okay? Let quadrant 1 control everything. I'm going to move on. So we have opposite over adjacent. Here's my opposite.
If any of these students are sitting in your classroom,
Adjacent is negative 1 over 2.
their testing room. Thank you and go.
And let's do something automatically. What do I have on the top and the bottom, sign-wise, that I can get rid of? The 2 negatives become positive, so I'm going to get rid of it. So now let's multiply by the reciprocal. So we have 2 over 1, 2 over 1. That makes everything on the bottom go away. What else eliminates on the top fractions? The 2's. So when I eliminate that, my final answer is simply radical 3 over 1, which in the end is going to be what? Radical 3. Is everyone good with that? All right? So think about, do I count by 30, count by 60? How many away? It's always even. Good?